Hey everybody, whoever you are, what you believe, whatever, please. I'm asking 15 minutes. That's all I'm asking. 10 to 15 minutes, and then just give me that. That's all I'm asking. I'm gonna tell you a story. It's a true story. It's my story. I was born in Detroit, Detroit receiving. We lived on 8 Mile and DeQuinder. Nope, John R. Excuse me. In between DeQuinder and John R. Closer to John R. On a street called John B. Right down the street from Eminem's trailer park. I probably went to his elementary. Yeah, I'm sure I did. Um, we moved out when I was probably no, 5 or 6. I think 5, to tell you the truth. Um, we moved around a lot. My mom and dad got divorced when I was real young. My mom's parents hated my dad because he was from the South and he was very uneducated. They were from the old country, and they hated him. They talked my mom into divorcing my dad. My dad loved my mom. Um, he loved her so much that he would try to come and see us kids. He would try to see her. Every time he did, the chief called the cops because he was always behind in child support. He was always behind because he was a carpenter. And jobs to jobs to jobs. You make good money when you're working back then, but when you're not, you don't make nothing at all. So there was hard times and good times and hard times. Mostly hard times, as I remember, because I was so young when they got divorced. I remember standing at the phone booth with my dad and my older brother, and there was 4 of us kids. And my brother was listening to my dad, and my brother turned to me and says, "I think my mom and dad's getting divorced." I said, "What's divorce?" He says, "I'm not sure, but I think it's when they don't see each other no more." And I didn't even understand it. I still remember the song was on that Rolling Stones. Hey, hey, it was just came out. Maybe it didn't. Maybe it's been out for I don't know. But it was that "Get Off of My Clown." I was a little kid, said clown. That's why I remember it. And I remember that song was playing at the time. He was standing at the phone booth. We were standing right next to him at a little party store. Anyways, like I said, he would always get arrested. He was always getting in trouble. And I watched him fight Warren cops. I watched him fight my mom's brothers with baseball. They were jumping with baseball bats. He was a big man. He could fight. My mom was a little woman, but man, she was a pack a punch as far as anger goes. She would beat me with ironing cords, brooms, you name it, she would do it. Anything and everything. And she always took it out on me. I looked like my dad, and I love my dad. I'd cry to see my dad. And it got so bad, my dad ended up joining the army. They were young, so he joined the army. He went to Vietnam. He served at least 2 tours and maybe 3. I remember he was a sergeant. I want to say buck sergeant, but I think that's what it was. I'm pretty sure it was 3 up and 3 down. He rose the ranks fast. He was a big guy, and he had a lot of anger in him, I'm sure. And I probably went there to this end it all, but it didn't work that way. Well, when he got home, he came home and he drank all the time, and then he ended up killing himself. It wasn't the drinking that killed him; it was the war that killed him, and my mom more than anything. And my mom always had drunk boyfriends. I remember asking her, "Why do you got to bring these drunks home all the time? You said you divorced my dad because he's a drunk, but all I see you is with drunks." And she hated me. I mean, I remember standing there, her telling me that. I remember spitting in my face. I remember one time she went to hit me, and I went to block, and she said, "Don't you ever raise a hand at me." I would never hit my mom. I love my mom. My mom, and please, I'm asking you this. Don't think about my mom and my brothers and sisters bad. It was a bad time. They were in bad places and things happen. It's not God that hurts anyone. It's people that hurt people. Anyways, my childhood was rough. I could run the streets at 6, 7 years old. By the time I was about 8 or 9, I got arrested my first time for possession of stolen property. I was always hanging out with kids 5, 6, 7 years older than me, even adults as a little kid. I got put in a youth home, and when I got in the youth home, I stayed in there about a month. This is the last time, or second or third of the last time I seen my dad. He came and visited me when he was home on leave. And then when I went to court, I remember the judge saying, "He's a good kid." The probation officer says he's really done good here. He don't get no trouble. We're gonna send him home. My mom stood up and shocked the whole court. She says, "I don't want him. You keep him." I mean, that broke my heart. It really did. So what they ended up doing is send me back to the youth home. I stayed in there quite a long time. They let me come home a little bit, but I'd come home a little bit, and she'd get mad at me, or I'd have to fight one of her boyfriends, and I'd get thrown back into it. So I ended up spending a good amount of time. They ended up making me a ward of the state, committed me as a menace to society, and put me in a reformatory. And this place was crazy. I mean, I'm a little kid. I'm 10, maybe years old, and when they put me in this thing, and the first thing I remember is just I got there at night. The next morning we got there and was eating breakfast. And this is no lie. I think there's a movie that does the same thing, but this is the truth. I watched this kid reach across the table and stab this other kid right in the fork. I'm with a fork right in the hand. Stuck it to the table. That was my introduction to this place. They were all crazy in there. Place was Star Commonwealth for Boys in Albion, Michigan. I spent about 2 years in that place. It was that positive peer culture, check yourself, your self-concept, all that crazy stuff. But even there, I wasn't like the rest of the kids. They were in there for arson, trying to kill their parents, armed robbery. And they're all I was the youngest one in this age group. I mean, I was the baby of the kids. Anyways, I finally got out of there after a couple years, and by the time I got out of there, I was in ninth grade, going into ninth grade. And I started living with, I got to go home for a little bit because my mom knew that if she didn't take me home, she couldn't get her welfare check. But she did everything cool you could think of. And it wasn't her, it was just the things that happened. I love my mom. I wish no bad thing to her. God rest, may she rest in peace. My other brothers and sister, they just went with the flow. They could say if something would break and somebody else would do it, they'd say Billy did it, my mom would whip my ass. It didn't matter. She'd know that they didn't do it, but she'd whip my ass. I'm sorry for swearing. So it was bad, and so I could run the streets. Still could run the streets. I ended up, like I said, after I got out of home. It was about the beginning of ninth grade. I wanted to play football. I got to live with this one family. They said I could go to school and play sports as long as I built their house, help them build their house. So from like early June, and maybe a little before that, because I got out before kids got out of school, and all the way through the summer till September, and that's when we go back to school in Michigan. I worked on this house, and when it came time for me to go to school, the man of the house came into the room and he said, "Get up, go to work." And I said, "Okay." I was scared, I'll go to work. And he said, and he was going somewhere. And I said, "How am I supposed to get there?" Because it was like 20 miles away. He said, "I don't care, hitchhike, but you better get there." So I knew that I couldn't stay there no more. He wasn't going to let me go to school. It was nothing but trouble in that house. There was this older woman that lived there. It was his daughter. She's about 7, 8 years older than me at least. She was always trying to jump in bed with me, Yeah. I didn't want nothing to do with her, but she would force herself on me, and she would talk to the people there and saying, that I'm going to be her man. It was sick. It was demented. The whole thing was demented. So I ended up living with another family, and then I got to play football. I got to wrestle, and I was good. I was all-state football, and I was one of the top in the state in wrestling. I had few boxes of colleges that wanted me to go to them, but I couldn't even get a ride to the place. I had no family that cared, and nobody else did either. So they both families got paid $126 a week because I was a ward of the state. The state was responsible for me, so they were getting paid for me to live there. The first family was getting paid, and I had to work. The second family got paid, and I'm grateful to the second family because I never would have got to school if it wasn't for them. But I knew as soon as the day I graduated, I had to go. So I left. And I was, like I said, I had all these offers and all this stuff, and I wanted to play football, but you got to have a family to go to college. I don't know how it is today, but back then you had to have support. And like I said, I couldn't go, so I was an angry man. I ended up joining a couple motorcycle clubs. The first one was a pretty big one in Detroit. Had the Bottom Rocker, Detroit MC. So did the second one, but the second one was national. It was from Canada all the way down to Texas, all across the country. It was a big club. I was third in charge of the mother chapter. There's a president, vice president, and secretary. They made me secretary. Probably because I could write, but other reasons too. The only reason I got in the club because I could fight. I was a big man, and I liked to fight. Every time we'd get in a fight, I'd always try to get them to swing first. 99% of the time, that's how it happened. Unless we just collided right off the bat, it was on. That's how things work. And every time I'd get into a fight like that, it'd be like I'd get want them to hit me first. Because if they could hit me first, I'd think back all the men and drunks that came back. My mom would bring home, and I just, it would give me everything. Oh, you want to hurt me? And I could eat them up. I've never been defeated. I fought through a couple draws, but I've never had my butt whooped. Anyways, when I was in the second club, and I'm trying to make this short, and when I was in the second club, I started having dreams of Jesus. And in them dreams, I never read the Bible. And there's a lady here that'll tell you that. She's seen me through the clubs. Did I ever read the Bible or was anything like that? But I did know the Bible, kind of. I knew some stories,
you knew things.
But I don't know how I got them. But I always believed, but I just thought Jesus and our Father, He don't care about me. I prayed as a little kid. Can I please have a daddy? Can you please bring my daddy home? And that was not going to happen. Then I would pray, please, can you give me a dad that would love me, take me fishing, go to my football games? That never happened. My mom, like I said, hated me. I don't even really remember my little brother and sister much at all. That's how bad it was. I was always on the street. I would sneak in, even the family that I lived with, I would always eat at night because that's how I'd have to eat at home. I'd have to sneak out in at night, eat my food, and then hopefully didn't eat too much where I'd get noticed. It was terrible. Anyways, as I said, I started having these dreams of Jesus. Jesus told me to drink from the water of life. I never heard of water of life. Jesus took me to a place that had to be in heaven. It was beautiful. It was like lit, but there was no sun. And the grass was beautiful on it, like a rolling hill. I was standing on top of a rolling hill, and there's this little path. And they had these crazy-looking pine trees. I come from Michigan. They're big and wide and work up to a cone. These things were tight and wide and worked up to a cone. They were like sticks with this, and the sticks would grow up, and it was like a barrier. You couldn't go that way, and the other way was like a cliff, and it was just this little path. And I could look down there, and I could see this white temple. It was like glowing. And one minute I'm standing on top of the hill, next minute I'm standing in front of the gate. And the gate was wide open, and you could look right into the door. I couldn't really see what was in the door because I didn't really stay there long. But when I was standing there, I seen Jesus standing there smiling and pointing like this. Later I found out that was the Temple of Solomon. That's the temple that they call the Holy of Holies. And I was standing before it in heaven with Jesus. Like I said, Jesus told me to drink from the water of life. I stood before him, and he stood there at like a big table, and he glowed. It was beautiful. Only thing that didn't glow was he had black hair, long black hair. I think that's the reason I grew mine, to try to imitate him. But all these things that he told me and showed me, I never read the Bible. But then I found out I was watching TV one day, and then I said, look, that's the place he took me. And am I right?
Yeah.
And I said, that's it. But it didn't have all them extra walls and things around. It just had this one little wall that the door wasn't even a door on the first one. You could walk right into the temple. And I couldn't believe it. It had the little gold rectangular thing trim around the top. It looked gold. It was pearly white, and it glowed. And like the water of life. I never heard of no water of life. I knew a little bit about Jesus. I did believe, but I just didn't think Jesus cared about me. Because all the things I prayed for never came true. And then when so I just didn't know, I just didn't know. But then after he told me them things and showed me them things, every time he came I felt different. It's like I knew the Bible and I never read it. I knew all the stories of the Bible. Jesus gave them to me. He put them in my head. One day I came up to this lady right here and I said, what does this word mean? Adonai, Adonai. I kept running in my head. She looked it up, did you not?
Yes, I did.
And what did it mean?
It means God.
And so then, and the word came after that was Elohim, Elohim. And I could barely even pronounce it, could I? But I could get it out. Adonai.
Right.
Adonai. And Elohim, Elohim. And she looked it up. What does that mean?
It was his name, wasn't it?
No, Adonai is his name.
Oh, God.
Kind of unequal yoke, but God bless her for it. So, like I said, everything changed. I'd go to the clubhouse, I'd look at these guys, it was like I didn't even know them. Guys I used to call my brother and get drunk and party and do crazy things with, I didn't even want to be around them more. I felt different inside. I didn't feel like them guys no more. At one time, I'd want to go to the clubhouse. I'd want to hang out at the clubhouse. I want to go on runs. And all of a sudden now, I didn't want none part of it. I didn't want to be there. I didn't want to do that stuff. I didn't want to carry a gun. I didn't want to fight nobody. I didn't want to carry any weapons. I didn't want to take advantage of nobody. I didn't want to punk nobody out no more. I didn't want to go on no runs. I was changed. I couldn't play the game. I couldn't pretend. There are pretenders, but I couldn't be. I never was. I was in or out, and I couldn't pretend no more. I turned in my rags. I said, I can't do this no more. I'm done. The thing I'm trying to tell you is if God can love me, if Jesus could come to a wretched soul like me, if Jesus can love a man like me, how much more does he love you? How much more? Jesus put love, a real, true love, a love like I never felt, a true love. I was wanted, something I always wanted to feel. I wanted to be loved. I wanted to love and be loved. I couldn't, everybody I've ever ran into has always took advantage of me or used me because I could fight. That's the all. I never had nobody really care about me, but I felt it that day. I felt Jesus' love for me. I felt the love like I haven't felt ever, and I know I'll feel it again. I know I'll feel it again. Jesus changed me inside. I started caring about everybody. I didn't want to hurt nobody. I didn't want to fight no more. I didn't want to party no more. I had to give it up. I had to give it up. And like I said, that love that Jesus gave me, how could he? The wretched guy that I am, he loves me. He cared for me. And if he loves me, a man like me, and done the things I've done, because I've done it all, if he can love me, how much more does he love you? How much more does he love you? He only puts on what you can bear. He says, I'll never put on more than you could carry. And he's always given a way out. I just never thought of him as who he is. He's our loving Father. And Jesus and Abba, our Father God, are the same. To see, as Jesus said, you see me, you see the Father. I and my Father are one. Jesus is God. And God came down, he loves you so much that he went to that cross. He went to that cross for you. He went to that cross for me. How could Jesus love me? How could Jesus love me? Me. I was wretched. I was mean, angry. All my life I was just, it was one heartbreak to the other. Every time I tried to love it, it was like getting my heart ripped out. And all of a sudden this loving God of ours came to me and loves me. He loves you too. Whosoever shall believe shall be saved. Faith comes by hearing. Without faith you can't please God. Faith comes by hearing, and that is hearing the word of the Lord. They got apps today. You can listen to the Bible and it'll read it to you. It'll read it right to you. It's all there. Please, I'm begging you. Jesus is real. Jesus is so real. He's as real as me talking to you right now. And he loves you. Don't give up on Christ. Don't give up on God. I know you're hurting. There's people out there hurting as bad as me or worse. And I used to say as a little kid, because I always figured out it can't get no worse. And it would always happen. If something else would break me down. And I had a good face, I'd cover it up. I'd hide it all. But it would always tear me apart. And then I got to where I just didn't want to love nobody. I just didn't care. And I started being mean. The anger was in me. But I know Jesus loves me, and I know he loves you. So please believe me. There's no other way I could have learned this stuff. There's no way I could have ever known the things he told me unless he told it to me. That wasn't a dream. That was God. That was a God. Our God. Our only one true, holy, holy, holy Father. Abba, Father God. And he came as Christ, and he loves you. He died for you, and he still calling your name right now, whoever you are. So I beg you, please, with all your heart, reach out to him. Faith comes by hearing, and that is hearing the word of the Lord. And you can't hear the word of the Lord unless you're reading that Bible. And how can you stand before God and say, I love you, God, and you haven't even opened that book? If you want love, if you're like me, if you're broken inside, that's your love. And one day we'll never feel it again. When that pain will be gone. Every bit of it. Every bit of it will be gone. Everything that you felt, every pain, every time somebody's hurt you, he'll wash your away. He'll wash it all away. There's no more tears, no more sorrow, no more pain, no more suffering in heaven. He loves you. So I beg you, if he can do it for me, he'll do it for you too. I'm not saying I'm happy inside. In fact, I hurt all the time. This kills me to do this. But I know this, one day he's going to take it all. He's going to take it out for you too if you call out his name. He'll take it out for you too. All you got to do is